I'm in New York today on Friday, December 13. It is not perhaps a propitious time to start a book tour, but it seems an appropriate time to reflect a bit on the past 2 months. Beginning on October 11th in Dallas, I have been traveling around the country to participate in panel discussions or lectures about my book, History Will Prove Us Right. I am extremely grateful for all the help friends and relatives have provided around the United States in securing these opportunities for me. And I have enjoyed thoroughly the opportunity to discuss the book and answer questions raised by the audiences. These events have been generally very well attended. We had more than 150 at the initial event in Dallas. I returned to Texas a few weeks later at the Texas Book Festival, where I participated in a panel with 2 other authors of books related to the Kennedy assassination. There have been an enormous interest from audiences in Texas in particular, but elsewhere as well, and provided an opportunity for me to reflect on the events and also inform the listeners that the Warren Commission's findings have withstood the test of time, in the sense that no facts have unfolded in the last nearly 5 decades that undercut either of our 2 principal findings. First, that Oswald was the assassin, and second, that there was then and is now no credible evidence of any conspiracy. It was a pleasure to appear at an opening event at Philadelphia University in Philadelphia, where there was an exhibit at the newly constituted Arlen Specter Center for Public Policy. I had a very interesting appearance at the Museum in Washington, which is the museum that honors and features journalists over the years. And we had a very fine audience there, full of questions about the assassination and its aftermath. I had a particularly enjoyable session up in New York at the Stern Business School at NYU, where I faced for the first time a predominantly young audience. In attendance at that session were about 50 MBA students, mostly women, and a large percentage not having been born in the United States, and they were an interested audience to appear before, and it was wonderful to have the chance to chat with them in the process of signing books that they received as a prize or a penalty for attending the event. We did go on to three events in Chicago, my hometown. I did return to the suburb Oak Park, right on the western edge of Chicago, where I grew up, and I had the honor of talking to a group at the Oak Park Public Library. I was shocked to hear that the library in which I appeared was 2 libraries distant from the the antique one that I attended and participated in back in the 1940s. The event at Highland Park Public Library was especially of interest. We had more than 140 people attend there. My friends from the University of Michigan turned out in large numbers to see if I was still viable and could stand up and discuss my book. They and I were all pleasantly surprised by the success of the event, and my sister Joan Levy was there also to provide sisterly support. After Chicago, we ended up in San Francisco, where I also had 3 events. 2 of them were at the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco, and the second was at the City Club. I owe those events there to the strong support I got from Stuart Pollock, now Justice Stuart Pollock on the California Court of Appeals, who was a colleague of mine in the Justice Department and on the Warren Commission staff. In addition, my old friend from high school and University of Michigan days, Howard Niemirowski, was very supportive, and I had a wonderful opportunity to have dinner with him and his wife, Jackie, during the visit to San Francisco. We ended up a session, a busy trip, by going to Miami for the Miami Book Festival. I guess that was sometime in November. In between these events, I participated in, I would guess, about 8 to 10 radio interviews, sometimes by critics of the Warren Commission report, more often by people that were interested in hearing from me about my book and why I wrote it at this particular time and what it contributes to the literature, the ever-growing literature about the JFK assassination and the work of the Warren Commission. There was an opportunity in Ohio recently to participate in several events, two of which stand out in particular. One, I spoke at the Hudson Public Library. Hudson is a small community of about 23,000 people situated between Akron and Cleveland. It is a spectacular public institution. It is by far the largest and the most decorated library I have ever had the opportunity to visit, and they've had a long-standing practice of inviting authors and others to come speak to their supporters and people in the vicinity. It was a wonderful evening at the Hudson Public Library, and I'm very appreciative to the library and its staff for hosting me for that event. The other very unique event in Cleveland was the participation by me and Judge Burt Griffin, another of my Warren Commission colleagues, to participate in a continuing legal education program at the Cleveland State Marshall School of Law. Continuing legal education, known as CLE among lawyers, is a process by which lawyers are required to secure a number of credits every year in order to maintain their license. The underlying principle is, of course, a commendable one, that lawyers, like other professionals, should continue to grow and learn more as they progress through their career. In this CLE event was a most unusual one and came as quite a surprise to me that it was developed and enthusiastically supported by several judges in Cleveland, and including one who was an alumnus of the Cleveland State Law School. In any event, the program was featured on the Warren Commission, the background of the commission, the work of the commission, and then analyzed some of the legal issues associated with the event. In the event that Oswald had survived to be tried, we discussed several legal issues. For example, one of those issues was whether his wife Marina would have been able to testify at a criminal prosecution of Lee Harvey Oswald for the assassination, because there is a widely accepted spousal privilege that generally over the years prevents any spouse from testifying against the other. Another legal issue that was discussed by one of the professors who participated in this event related to whether Oswald's attempt to kill General Walker, which you know was almost successful, could have been used in evidence when he was being prosecuted for assassinating the president. There's sort of a question in the legal business about whether past bad acts can be used to help approve the nature and character of the defendant with respect to another potentially criminal act. So the two legal issues were discussed, as well as a few others, to a group of about 380 lawyers. Now, to the surprise of everyone supporting this endeavor, not one of those lawyers was found to be asleep, reading the newspaper, or playing with his iPad during the lectures that comprised this CLE event. We got, I hear, very favorable reviews from the lawyers who attended, saying it was by far the best CLE program they ever attended. And that, of course, meant a good deal, unless one is aware of the general boring nature of most CLE courses. But it was such a success that all of the participants, including me, are now discussing whether or not this particular format for a CLE program might be presented elsewhere at law schools in Ohio, at the University of Buffalo, or other places that might have a particular interest in the subject. We're now discussing the format for that, and who knows, next year in 2014 I may be continuing my book tour and include in the book tour next year a number of law schools on this subject. So I've enjoyed the 2 months. Everyone thinks it's been tiring, but I have found it rather exhilarating to meet so many new people, to see old friends, and to have a chance to tell the truth about the Warren Commission's work. Thank you.